Welcome back, sports fans. We are pumped. Race season is upon us. Welcome to the Crankbrothers Race Review Series. Now, this is a bonus. Thanks to Crankbrothers for supporting the huge World Cup reviews that we do. But we have Hardline, and man, what a start. So Crankbrothers is synonymous with downhill racing, winning 13 years in a row with that Mallet DH pedal. And Sven is my co-host, so he loves to correct me that Sam Hill threw in a few flat pedal wins as well, but they've added to their roster. They've added to their product offering with the shoes. Unfortunately, Ronan Dunn, man, he went down like a homesick mole, so we wish him a speedy recovery. But people like Luca Shaw, Camille Balanche, and Troy Brosnan, who was at Hardline, are in the shoes. But enough about that. We have an awesome episode. It might be short, it might be sweet, but Sven Martin was on the ground. Man, I mean, it's hot down in Tassie, but that was a hot race.
I think Mallet pedals. I think they've won every single hardline too. Stand to be corrected. Definitely the most recent ones. Bernard, G when he won. Bernard multiple times. Ronan multiple times. Jackson now multiple times.
Didn't
Jackson's
Adam Brayton win one? Didn't Brayton win one?
No. Craig Evans won, and I can't remember if he was in flats or pedals. If he was on flats or clips.
I hope he was on pedals.
I hope he was on pedals. Maybe he was on pegs. He's like Remy Morton on pegs.
Dan Booker could have been on pegs. He was doing some street maneuvers there off the logs onto that nose bonk, as if that feature's not tech enough.
Yeah, I know. It's that's what happens. They start playing with it. Second year, same venue. Track gets fine-tuned. Riders already know it. And then they go faster or do stupid stuff like Dan Booker. So we'll get into that and how the evolution of the tracks are from year to year and what that means and how it starts almost mirroring downhill World Cups where they start looking for time and how the race is won on a kind of a World Cup secret line thing and all that stuff. But in Tasmania on Monday, heading off to natural selection, a couple of days in Queenstown. My first big job other than the job we did for you a few weeks ago. My first big job of the year.
Huge job, that one, wasn't it?
With you, yeah. Multiple days.
Yeah. But we need, if the audio's not up to standard, just bear with us. Sven is literally, like you said, about to hop on a plane to go to another event, and he thought, why not break down Hardline? And that's quite a race to start the race season off with. I know it's like this invite event and it's this unique thing, but a lot of World Cup races showed up, and that's quite a place to like test your off-season rust at. Like someone like Troy Brosnan said he was shitting it most of the week.
Yeah, but like it's there's two ways of looking at it, and both ways I would say are correct because we've got proof and arguments for both ways. Is if you're a team manager,
I know where you're going with this.
Rather, how are your riders at Hardline? And this is proven by Ronan, Jackson, and Eris, among some others. But then you have people like Jackson and even Ronan, who's hurt, and Jackson says, "For sure, I'm coming back next year. This is a racing injury or a getting up to speed injury." And once you get, other than Eris, the injuries weren't on the big features of the track. It's just normal in between, say, World Cup features. I mean, and to be fair, we've all watched, or if you've watched any of Matt Jones and Ronan's vlogs, almost in the last one, they said he's just been doing full pace runs for like a month now in Queenstown and all over. And at some point, it's going to bite you in the arse. We might get back to the specifics of that crash and ways to mitigate it. But the long and short of it, after seeding, he could, they have sector times, 4 sectors. You could see that Asa was 2 seconds quicker in the lower sector, the last sector, and Ronan was 1.5 or 1 second quicker in the top sector. First practice run, a lot of the guys were just going to do 2 runs. Ronan was up to do 3 because he wanted to work on the last sector. Now, what I would have done, not that Ronan ever needs to listen to me for any racing advice, on that first of my 3 runs, I would have looked where I could have gone quicker but checked the dirt out. It was rained a tiny bit, but it was still bone dry. Checked the dirt out and been like, okay, this is where Asa got me and this is where I need to go fast. And then second and third practice runs turn up the gas, but no, Ronan goes flat out every run he does. And he just came unstuck.
So that was his first
so it's
practice run
interesting.
of race morning.
Of race morning. He was going to do 3, and Jackson and Laurie and a couple of others were just going to do 2. So it showed that he was like, okay, that he was in it to win it, as is everyone actually. And it also shows how, as different as a World Cup and as Hardline is, the prestige of winning it. Obviously, the prize money is like 5, 6, 7 times more anyway. But these guys are the top riders, so they're also the top paid athletes. So prize money is not as big a carrot, or maybe for running it still is. But the prestige of this event is up there with winning a World Cup, because everybody knows how gnarly and hard it is. But also, it's as different as the races they are slowly becoming quite similar on how you approach it to win it. And this is like what led to, I'd say, Ronan's crash. And they'd done, I'd say, a few more laps on the track this year than the years before, because last year we had I would say, like, Jackson hadn't had enough high-speed runs on the track, which led to his crash. But this one, they almost had so many, and with good weather and no cancel. Well, there was one sort of half day canceled. They canceled the top training one half day. But also with good weather, they were able to put more laps, and it was becoming. And then they were looking for time. Looking for time is not something people used to do at Hardline. Everyone used to kind of run the main line and get through it, go down it fast, main line with confidence, and hit the big features. But now it's about line spotting. The race was won purely on line spotting, and you could say Asa lost the race because of it, and Jackson won the race. And we can talk about how that one developed, because it was a line that Hooker had known about and had kept under wraps. Troy had found Forrest Day, did it once, I believe, kept it under wraps, but they had the monitor. I might as well get into it now. We start at the end, start with the finish, like we have no structure here. So we talked to you about Jackson getting to the actual start line, but PD was at the top, Mechanic was at the bottom, because there's no warm-up you could do with, it's, although one of these days I'll do warm-ups at the top, just like at the World Cup too, I wouldn't be surprised. But basically they were able to watch Troy's run, who dropped in just before Jackson, on the monitor, and Jackson and Steve saw the line. It's right before the container gap. There's these 2 berms, and at the World Cup there would have been more tape. Maybe it would have been taped out, or it would have been clearly taped. But right now it's a wide track, open to interpretation. There's a couple of poles here and there. But basically, Troy did an amazing racing line, and one that he kept under wraps. And Steve and Jackson was like, I have to do that. And Steve was like, they basically came to the conclusion, yes. And even if you do it slow, it'll be quicker than doing it flat out the way you know. And then if you actually look at the replay and look at the live feed, or look at the replay of the live feed, when Jackson gets that section, they call it meerkatting. So he was literally, this is in your race run. Already there's so much going on, and it's just before a massive container road gap. He was like just looking up, looking for the line, and did it way slower than Troy, but still, that literally was the difference of winning the race. So what I said, as different as World Cups are to Hardlines, they're becoming quite similar in terms of how you got to approach them to win them, because there's a lot of guys that can win them now, not just 3 or 4 favorites, and we've got Troy up there. So it's pretty cool,
That was quite the opening rant for Sven. I enjoyed that. There were so many things.
There wasn't a rant. That was an observation. That was an
There
observation.
wasn't a rant. No, but I mean, just it's just a bit of banter. But no, that was great observation. There were so many things to unpack there. But we're starting basically at the end, and I did notice that Jackson mentioned, okay, he'd never done the line, and maybe that also was a line that played into his favor, because you actually had to force yourself to go slower rather than fast for that style of line. Like, that's a line, if you did it probably 10, 20 times, you'd start getting a bit cocky, and you'd probably under brake into it and probably mess it up. Like Asa, I think, was a little bit hesitant on that line.
But
like he was a bit late coming out.
He didn't know that.
He
didn't. Not the. I wouldn't say cut line, but he did. He rode the
did that line,
he rode the full berm.
He was a bit. Yeah, okay, fair enough. There was,
No, no.
I was keeping an eye on that section, but yeah, I did see that there was hesitation from Jackson. He mentioned he'd never done it, but that's a line like to go fast, you actually go a bit slower. So that was like
Anyway,
really
yeah.
cool. But you mentioned like such an interesting thing is like the guys that have been there before are going to tick off the features like what first day if they're allowed, or if that's where the progression of the track is, and then from there they races it hard. So they're just going to build speed, and I took a bet with Miles. He was like, I'm betting on Asa. He's the new Jet Lawrence, you know? And I said, well, I always back the guy that qualifies second because I think he's hungrier, right? And lo and behold, he was so hungry, he took himself out the race. But watching Ronan's Queenstown runs, even riding with him here in South Africa, just like the sheer talent, speed, and rawness, these crashes unfortunately are bound to happen. I know hindsight's like a perfect science, but like if you're going to ride at that speed and you're going to show berms and you're going to be that good, you are going to have crashes. Like mountain biking is not if you crash, but when on all levels. So it's unfortunate that happens there. So hindsight looks like you shouldn't go to hardline. We had another guy crash out. Now, imagine being Greg Minnaar. So Gracie just is
You have
on
two of
seventh
his
heaven.
riders that are point scorers
Yeah.
for the all important year where their teams all need points.
Yeah, and he looked like that is a great decision. We're going to talk about her. She does full run, she wins, all the accolades, great media. And then, as you said, both decisions could be right. Now he's got one rider in hospital. Oh shit, maybe she shouldn't have gone, but Gracie went. So like, there's the exact two things can be opposing but right at the same time.
Yeah. So unpacking Eris's crash, like she's so tough and smart and like Kiwi, like she has this crash right in front of me. A couple of people crashed right in front of me, unfortunately. And it's a massive crash. Everything explodes and stuff. But I kind of thought she got away with it, kind of lucky by how she obviously was winded and in pain. But the only thing pain she was referring to was her wrist. So I was like, okay, she's lucky. She just broke her wrist, kind of thing. And Shane Perez's mom and dad were both literally right, like she crashed right in front of them too. So
What
that was
feature was
heartbreaking
it?
for them. Is the creek gap, which was a bit bigger this year.
Oh, down the bottom, that 80 footer or
Yeah,
whatever it was. Okay.
yeah, and not the finish line jump, but the old finish line jump from previous year over the
Like
big
even
creek. So that
Chaos's K-Stat one in practice, right? That one.
and
Yeah.
I think is that the one Edgar broke himself off as well. Yeah,
That looked like
yeah,
I saw
it
that on
was.
Insta.
So basically, they made it bigger this year, which because a few guys over-centered last year. I don't think they needed to make it bigger, but either which way, they'd all got over it before that. But what was very important with that jump and the finish line jump was specifically that one. You needed to hit the two shark fins after the reg up. You got the big shark fin exiting, and then another setup jump, and you had to hit them perfectly. And a lot of the girls were following, and guys were following other riders. And like Dan Booker and Teo Erlangse, hats off to them because they sacrificed a lot of their own practice time to get the girls and some of the guys that hadn't done the features, towing them into jumps, which is good. As you know, like getting towed in a dart race, you've done those huge jumps. But when you're towed in, there's somebody breaking wind for you, especially if you're a smaller girl that's female that's riding. You got someone breaking wind, which is a couple of 3 kilometers right there. And it'd be worked out with a sweet spot. Guys were pretty much had to go over 75 kilometers an hour. Simon French, the park owner, builder, Medina, dirt art event local organizer, amazing guy, good bike rider. He was basically, he could be doing a million things, but he was out of safety, had the radar gun on them. And they determined that 74 was like, anything below 74, you'd have to pull really hard. And Lou was actually using him in her last run before race day. She said basically, if I'm going below 70, you need to stop me. And she was stopped, and she stopped instead of hitting the jump. She like got to a stop and then just rolled off the back of the lip and just like tumbled down the thing, but she was fine. But that, for instance, was a smart thing to do. Now, Eris had they used the radar gun the day before, but now this is race morning, so they're kind of on their own. And she didn't have someone breaking wind. She had got over it by herself, but she didn't have now last practice runs before the race. She didn't have anyone breaking wind, and and now you've done a full run. You're not starting from just above the container gap, but she was like noticeably. I could tell she was going too slow, and just hope she would just yank and just cased it too much. So like, it's interesting that it's come down to science. It's almost like the lad science or the guys at Darkfest. They know the angles and the speed and what you need to do, and that jump you needed to go 74k plus, and if you were going under, which Eris was, and unfortunately she's going back to her crash. We thought she just had a broken wrist, and she like shrugged her marshals and medics off, or got up and got in the quad to get driven down, and she used a broken wrist to pull herself up in the quad. These Kiwis and girls are another level.
Built differently, man. That's insane.
Built differently, and she's been at a World Cup. She's been airlifted on quali day, airlifted, and then went on to win the race on race day. You know what I mean? Anyway. But get back to the story, and in the end, like, she actually had broken wrist, broken neck, broken back. I'm assuming none of them badly, because otherwise she wouldn't have felt as good as she did. But so back to the whole Norco and the World Cup race team. That's for sure. It's 90 days, but she's still going to be missing some opening rounds.
Yeah, well, healing vibes to her and everyone else that crashed. And you mentioned an interesting thing. So I don't know the layout of that land there, but I do know from Darkfest, from experience and watching like the best of the best there are mornings where if there's no wind, but the kind of air density is thicker and it pushes up the valley, just for Darkfest. I'm not saying Taz is like that, but if anything from like 1 kilometer tailwind to 0 wind changes the speed you have to hit a jump. So you could be like, I've hit the shark fins perfect. I've pumped, like, this is what I did yesterday. But it's like that experience of like those little things. Like, I've watched Sea Dog, I've watched Sam not ride in the morning, and I'm like, there's no wind. They're like, yeah, it's not right. It just runs slower. It just runs slower than in the afternoon when like there's no wind, but it's sort of like the valley wind is coming down the valley. It's like super crazy how that changes. So when you're at a race and you're trying to do morning practice, like, that's very tough to say, okay, it's going to be fast in the afternoon. Maybe I don't even hit it in the morning. Like that, like these things, this is the first time we're seeing 80-foot jumps in race. And that's what makes Hardline amazing, but it brings in this added risk.
You might be 100% right, because they have a big temperature difference from morning to afternoon there. That's why it was quite chilly here. We quite deep, dark in the south. And for sure, we had like high temperatures in the afternoons and low temperatures in the morning. So I wouldn't be surprised if, like you said, like there's thicker, slower, cold air, and it's at the bottom of a valley where you got the catabolic wind settling. So
I'm no scientist, but even a golf ball flies shorter in colder temps, and Darkfest I fly shorter in colder temps. So, and it's just they're going to have to start maybe being a bit more aware of that, and then that's something they have to look at. But
they are, hence the radar gun, and but then also I'm also like, if that last jump and the second last jump were a tiny bit smaller, would it actually detract from the race, the viewing experience, the size of the jump? It allowed them to, like everyone, say, to get a bit more style, not just 1-2 guys that feel super comfortable, because guys were still going sideways on the whips, and Matt Jones backflipping, and so, like, that's the thing. Like, you could still make the jumps hardline worthy, but maybe a tiny bit smaller, and then take the stress off things like wind, cold and hot temperatures, guys towing in girls. Like, you could still make it hard but doable, but then that also goes against the spirit of hardline, because it is the very biggest for the very best. So I guess there's an argument for both sides, and someone would counter argue me, but I'd say
my counter is with you. What about a case pad? Like, you lose speed, but you maybe don't crash.
a couple of guys said exactly that.
Yeah, and like it's like a little flat, like Darkfest, the 90 has like quite a bit of there's like the sweet spot, and there's probably definitely a spot you can get away with, but it's not great.
Yeah, because people have pushed through nose bouncing those Darkfest jumps, which are
like
bigger.
There is a world, I would say, as a 2 cents, as a learning, maybe there's a world, because it's a race and you can't say, oh, the wind's up, we're not racing this afternoon. Like, you need them to get over this jump. I mean, how bad would that look on TV if you're riding around an 80-footer because the wind came up? So I think maybe there's the middle ground, and your photos, literally, you're not going to know. You're not going to know that there's like an 8-foot case pad.
They're going to be better because the guys are going to be going sideways, and they'll be better on the live feed because you just won't have Jackson going sideways. You'll have everyone going sideways, you know?
Fucking hell, excuse the language, but like Ronan's crash, we haven't unpacked this thing. Is that his head that makes that noise on the rock?
So that's like we talked about.
Holy F-bomb, dude.
We talked about, I mentioned how the separation of Hardline and World Cups, because there's so many cool things that Hardline is about. It's about the athletes first, right? They take care of and look after and treat the athletes so damn well, both of scheduling, listening to wants and needs, but like they truly are the stars of the show. They're not just athletes, they're the entertainers, and they're the VIPs, you know? Where I feel like at World Cups, the athletes and even the teams haven't been treated like that. You know, they are the stars of the show. They are the show. Yet, you know, no more extra prize money, increasing costs, restrictions. You know, no one takes the feedback on course fixes and improvements. But anyway, but Hardline is it's very athlete focused, and it's not just a media event. They definitely could look after the athletes' needs. But getting back to how they have become similar, which is now perhaps Hardline has always been rugged. I mean, we saw that crazy thing that they thought they were going to put in the track at Wales, you know?
At Wales.
I mean, let's not. I'm glad I didn't do that.
Dude, let's not sugarcoat it. That seemed a little over the top for safety, health and safety.
But both venues now have had multiple years, you know, especially this one as well. Now what they can look into, and this is going back to Ronan's rock, at a World Cup, that rock would have been padded. And a few more trees.
Moved if it was able to move.
That rock wasn't moving.
No, I don't know. I don't know if you could get a digger in there and scrape it out. I don't know.
And probably the tree that, I was saying, probably the tree that Jackson hit last year would have been padded tree. This year, funny enough, that
dude,
tree
if you start padding trees there, how many trees?
No, I know.
That Foss motorway section. I'm such a dad now. I'm looking at these guys. I'm like, this is too scary for me to even watch. There's so many trees. These guys are probably not going to crash, but there's so many trees.
Yeah, but there's some like trees, you know, you can like if you're going straight,
on the exit of turn. Yeah.
And like, but the funny thing is, this year, I swear, I could be wrong. So sorry if I am, Simon and your team. I swear they padded the tree next to the one that Jackson hit. They didn't pad the tree that Jackson hit. And I'm like, and they did actually, you know, I'm not saying there were no pads on the course and it was an unsafe course, but because these guys are riding a like World Cup and there's risk everywhere now because people like Ronan are riding the easy turns like a bat out of hell, and he got hurt because of that, you know. Saving Jackson riding an easy tech section way too fast, and so now that you got to think that there's a possibility for injury everywhere. You can't just make the big features safe. You're going to have to make the race course safe. You know, this is like, you don't want people like how Amaury Pleuron broke his neck or back because essentially the B zone could have been safer. So we need to, when I say we, I'm got nothing to do with this, but Simon, we need to get a few more safety features. And there was a lot, like I said, there was a lot, and everything was done, and all the decisions around training and race are done for rider safety and to make sure they can get over the jumps and the schedule gets moved around because of that. So safety is number one priority as it is, but because they're approaching it like a World Cup and it is important, and they're looking for milliseconds and cutting corners or riding flat out, they're going to have to just clean up the B zone. These, like, you know what I mean? That's my suggestion.
That was a mini rant in a good way because there was feedback.
For the riders.
There was what you think was wrong. It's for the rider. It was very constructive. Apart from you,
I'm getting better.
Very positive. You are getting better. I think we both, with our age, you know, a little bit more water off a duck's back. But apart from you saying you'd go up there yourself and like tie a few mattresses to trees, that was a 9.5 out of 10 rant. I loved it. And it was for the riders. Hey, that's why we're here. And you do give the course builders so much credit and the event. Like, it is cool to see an event that really is rider focused. I mean, let's be honest. And it's like not a lot of things you have to do. I remember like the US Open is kind of like that. They're like, make sure the riders are happy. They want to come back. They speak highly of the event. Like, it just seems like a thing you should consider doing? I know it's easier when you invite 15, 20 people, but it
football,
still
obviously,
is
yeah.
something they're willing to do. It's really cool. But yeah, she's quite the start to the season. You've got some cool notes for me to go through. You've mentioned radar guns. You've mentioned B zones.
Okay, wait. How's this for a quick conspiracy theory? This has got nothing to do
Oh,
with
love
Hardline.
it.
Shall we just
Love
put it in the middle? Okay.
Dude,
Okay.
who cares?
Sorry that this is just current news. So this is what we're talking about. And
Is it
point one
biking
athletic
conspiracy theory or like world conspiracy theory?
Okay, so you know you have the top 15 and 16 teams, right? Like you have to be
Yes.
top 15 to be an elite or a UCI World Cup team. Did you
Yeah,
see which team is in 16th right now?
I haven't, because we're not doing our preseason one.
Scott Factory Racing is in 16th.
Is in
They have to
16th.
apply for a World
Oh
Cup.
dear.
Yes.
No,
But
they
guess who's
don't.
sponsored
With Benoit.
Get-
Oh my goodness.
Guess who's sponsored by Scott and won Snowbike World Champion, which comes with a hell of a lot of points.
Vinny T. Put him on the
Vinny T.
roster.
So-
are we putting him on the roster?
So I'll tell you what. Okay,
I'm gonna message
kind of messes up a
Pat
good story.
afterwards.
I think it messes up a good story, but technically you can't put him on the roster because the roster should have been in, and his points are actually going to only count for next year. But let's say this just shows you how stupid some of the changes are in the World Cups. Let's say Vinny T got put on the roster, Scott team got pushed up because he's bringing a lot of points. Snowbike World Champion, super crosses over into downhill, you know. Guess which team gets bumped out of 15th spot? Santa Cruz Syndicate. Oh, and guess
No
what happens?
ways.
Jackson
Santa Cruz Syndicate
didn't do any
is only in
racing.
15th.
So Jackson doesn't have any World Cup points. Jackson's not national champion. Guess who can't race a World Cup next year because he doesn't have a team? So if Syndicate forgot
That
to
would
or
have
didn't
been
apply for a
mental.
wild card status, so can you imagine? No, but this is the ridiculousness of it all, Andrew. Someone like Jackson Goldstone, because Vinny T won Snowbike World Champs. Do you want me to move to another? Can I have another one? And I'll pay. Thank you. We get to say. Can you? But like,
Nice.
can you
That is-
imagine?
That is not far fetched, because there was a world, there was a reality
this
that
needs-
could have been happen. That could
I
have
think
happened.
well, it's pretty much almost is a reality, dude. I think we should put this as a reel, just for some clickbait. We could be like that Recon MTB site where it gives just tons of clickbait.
He does some good stuff though. I like his videos he's been making.
No, I do. I know. I
must
know
say.
Nick Bean. He'll like the prop. He'll like the comment.
It's like it's happening in the golf world where they've been fighting on the live tour to get like world ranking points. It's like, does Hardline need some points? Because like if you win Hardline, you're telling me, you know, it should be worth some
Hey,
points.
it's UCI. It's
if they're
UCI
saying-
sanctioned. It is UCI sanctioned because it has to be. Otherwise, they're not allowed. Yeah, if it's not sanctioned, they're not allowed to race in it.
Oh yeah, then there was that whole thing.
So
Dude,
technically, actually,
mad conspiracies.
So it has to, because otherwise they're not allowed to race. So they force the UCI to send a commissary. I mean, no, they have to pay for the commissary and all that. But actually, talking about those tree pads, it's not me that's to go up there and tie them, which only gave me a 9.5 out of 10 ranking. That UCI commissaire should not have signed off on the track. He should have made them put more pads on it and run it.
Oh, now we
Okay,
have
no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Sorry. Let's move
No,
on.
but it's a
from
great.
all of that.
We will, but I think it's a great teaser to when we jump into the preseason. We got that little nugget of like, okay, when you make changes, there are sometimes some actual sort of, you can't foresee all scenarios, so you got to try build in safety, like they did with the LCQ. I mean, quali 1 and quali 2
Australia's oldest brewery, and also just
Yeah?
up the street here. Yep.
from Tassie, Cascade
Tassie, yeah.
Drought.
And
Love
it's
it.
Australia's oldest brewery. I think this must be the first ship must have landed here and brought some stuff. All right, let's see.
What
some
stuff? You were about to get us cancelled.
No, like there's hops and stuff that you make.
Oh, okay.
This is another aside. How gnarly is this? This is literally in the lunch break before the race runs. So now Anka's up here with me and Ziggy's in the adventure backpack spectating. Eris has just crashed in front of me and we're organizing a medics and I'm like trying to like just help out in that situation and talk to her parents, and anyway I'm doing that, and then Anka comes and she just tells me Ziggy's grab some foxgloves and eaten the leaves from the foxglove flower. You know, those little bell, pretty colored flowers, kind of like lupins, but it's a foxglove. And then she Googles it, and it's like a crazy toxic plant and can make your heart stop. And she goes to the medic, and the medic causes poison control. And they say we got to get Ziggy off to the hospital. So we dash off.
No.
Training's just finished, and we rush off to the medics. And then you have like basically now in the ambulance bay and waiting to get carted off. You got Ronan, Eris, and Ziggy in waiting for ambulances, or the ambulance were loading and taking them. And we didn't know how much Ziggy had eaten, and in the end, it was all good, I guess. But she had to go to the hospital, and she was monitored till 8 p.m. on race day. And I'm like, while I'm shooting bloody Hardline, I'm getting like updates, and she had like all these ECG monitoring stuff.
So scary.
So you as a dad, you just like, how do I get to be 50 years old and I didn't know you can't eat foxglove flowers? I mean,
I don't even know what a fox. I thought she ate something off someone's fox, the brand gloves. I was like, what?
No,
it can't be that bad.
No, foxglove. Okay, doesn't make sense. A mountain biking podcast. Sorry,
Yeah.
no, foxglove's a flower. It's toxic flower. Yeah.
Dude, Ziggy is, she's always around the stars, whether it's like at the races, watching practice in the finish corral, or going to hospital with the stars.
Yeah,
Like, how's that for a story?
She does love Uncle Petey. Let's see. Let's keep it back to mountain biking. Sorry, we digress.
Finish
here.
bowl stories. Oh, it's not a finish bowl story.
Oh, hang on. There was some notes, but we always starting at the end. Like, that was cool. All the Gearbox bikes were in like those. Everyone looked good, man. Watching Charlie and G on different bikes, but both Atherton bikes. Oh yeah. Okay, let's. It's good having G here because G and Dan weren't here last year. Dan Atherton was here as well, and they asked me during the season last year because they want to make sure like that when they partner up with a new venue that it's worthy of Hardline, which is really G and Affy's Dan Atherton's is their baby, you know, and they want it. And I was like, he said, I don't care how easy or flow trail it looks. I'm telling you, I said to him, it's no. And people like doing laps on the track because it is fun to ride. I don't think Hardline Wales is fun to ride, I would say. But so it was cool to have G and Dan here, and both of them saw like what you can't see from the racing drones and from the GoPros, like that long Baxter's Highway, which had added that massive 60-footer jump this year. Like you said, it's crazy fast. So it was nice to see, and we've all seen what G's done the last 2-3 years, how insanely gnarly and life risking, and he was scared from this Hardline venue and this Hardline track, and like Troy as well, you know. So if any naysayers out there think it looks too easy or you could do laps or whatever, like any easy bits from last year, they just added like massive features this year and changes and stuff. So it was interesting take to have G ride the track and see how it was, and him being like scared enough because it was legit, you know. And also just seeing how the two different bikes performed, and I got to say, there's something in the weight on those Gearbox bikes being where they are. It's just like, you know, me and you go back to back off the e-bike, and I've got this descending track in Malini where zero pedaling, so there's no benefit of the e-bike motor, but I'm faster without trying on my e-bike than I am trying to have the perfect run on my non-e-bike, and it's just the grip and the weight on a gravity trail, and it's in the right place. So I'm gonna say, yeah, those Gearbox bikes all look real good. The Zeros and the Intenses and the Atherton bikes, looked amazing.
I'd say they probably will do better at somewhere like Val de Sol, where I think that's where like the advantages are going to be pretty interesting to see. But it is cool to see someone like G Racing, and then Sam Hill, Josh Bryson.
And Josh Bryson,
you know, like
all
the old school super fan can
G's
tune in, you know?
G's 40, yeah. Like you said, they have the Masters Tour in the golf, and in the surfing, they have some Masters specialty events. It'd be pretty cool to see, like, well, Manal would probably jump in there just so you could win some more but it'll be good. People love it, and seeing Sam and Josh out there, like they might not have had the fastest race times, but just love it, man. And there's the older fan base, and there's young kids that literally just know about Matt Jones and Bernard because of YouTube. So you literally have the YouTube demographic. Any kid under 13 just knows Matt Jones and Bernard, and then they know like Ronan and Jackson because he's like that's their demographic. But then there's so many. It's pretty cool, this whole man money thing, because there's so many people our age there, and to see like Petey there, Corside, G and Josh and Sam Hill, man. And that's what I put in the race notes. Those guys come and they've got the best. Like, if you want to have a good camping setup, you come to Australia, man. They have like the best Mad Max, these utes, these flatbacks with just camping setups and bivvies and tires and snorkels and winches. It's like the coolest bogan, and it's just amazing.
Do we need that in South Africa so you and I'll go camping with the family, or instead of getting an Airbnb next to the campsite?
Well, the problem in South Africa is some other problems. You can't camp everywhere in South Africa. Like, there's snakes. There were a lot of snakes. Even in
did you guys see them?
There was some snakes. Yeah. It was
again.
On
did
the
you
landing
guys see
of
the snakes
on the landing of the big creek act. There were just massive brown snake to just
oh my god! I'm so scared of a snake. That's insane. How are those New Year's resolutions going? If you've fallen off track, I get it. But one habit I've stuck with is AG1. One scoop once a day, and I know I'm covered with 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients. It's the easiest way to support my immune health, digestion, and energy. For some of you, winter mornings can be rough. I get it. But AG1 helps me wake up, get moving, and stay focused, even when I'd honestly rather hit the snooze button. Takes 60 seconds to mix and drink, but the benefits last all day. Wellness isn't a solo journey, so many friends, family, and listeners like you have made AG1 a daily habit. And with Valentine's Day coming up, why not commit to your health with your partner? Studies show that forming habits together makes them stick. Best of all, there's a 90-day money-back guarantee. So if you're skeptical or not sure, you can just buy and try it for 3 full months, and if you don't like it for any reason, they'll give you your money back. It's never too late to start a new healthy habit. And AG1 is offering new subscribers a free $76 gift, including a welcome kit, a bottle of D3K2, and 5 free travel packs. Head over to drinkag1.com/moving the needle to get this offer and start your year on a healthier note. That's drinkag1.com/moving the needle. Is Conor Ferrin a full-time electrician now? That's what they said on the broadcast. As a segue, because you want to talk broadcast.
I chatted with him, but
what's that all about? Did he get his electrician license? What's the story?
No, I mean he's been kind of like a blue collar racer, even though he's been factory for so long. I think he already had that qualification, and now this is like kind of an unfortunate of how the World Cup's changing. You have riders like him with marginal teams that aren't going to be top 15. So then it's like, if we can't be guaranteed to have our setup and our pits at the venues, then what do we do? Like, do we even have a team? And there isn't a strong enough continental series, and you kind of Ferrin racing continents and stuff. And so he's got like a bike for the Aussie distributor, and he had an amazing run. And he said he loved the top of the track and he didn't like the bottom of the track. And then sure enough, his times just pretty much showed that. If he had 2 tops of the track, he could have been top 3. So it's just this, I'm just concerned that you lose, I'm not going to say Conor's on the tail end of his career, but you lose those type of people that can be at World Cups and or the future Conor Ferrins, how are they going to be at World Cups? Because it's one thing how the World Cups get to be who's on the World Cups this year, but what's worse moving forward than just limiting to his teams is that now the teams keep the points, not the riders. So the teams are never going to change. You're going to have, of the top 10 teams, you're going to have very, very, very little rotation. So you're going to have the same bike brands and teams for the next 3 years. And that to me, and then your rider points that matter. So a lot of riders got good deals this year, or either points available on Marine got a good deal, as it should be, or if you have a new good rider that highly performs, I guess he could be brought on to re-sign to a team. But it's the problem is now the teams keep the points, so you're going to have the same 10 bike brands racing World Cups, and that to me is not, that is like Formula One, and that's not fun,
Yeah, I mean, we can't help but go back. I was going to say, we can't help but get into the preview podcast. There's a teaser, dude. It's good for us to get our muscles, firing on what we're going to talk about in the teaser. But yeah, there's going to be all these knock-on effects of rule changes. That's like anything in life. Like you change something, you can't always foresee all the knock-on effects. Yeah, I mean, as a tease is my question, and we don't even have to answer it now, is like, it's an individual sport, and now it seems like it's getting a bit more team focused, but it's still an individual sport. So I've got so many question marks, which it'll take a year or two to figure out. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It was good to see and catch up with Valley, and it's funny, like some people were like, oh, she's like doesn't want to race, and was like, you know what? If you look how the weekend pans out, she made the best decision. She rides a lot with Eris, and Eris chose to race and got injured, and Valet said she was leading the charge of all the girls, not leading the charge because the bunch in the day, but she was one of the girls sending all the big features and on the early training days. And then she was like, you know what? I feel good, but I'm just not going to risk my World Cup season. But she did enough to almost make big features at the next opening World Cup seem easy. It's just going to be quite easy for her to roll into her first runs. But it's really cool to hear her take. I've never heard her as a commentator, and I heard her a bunch of insights she was given, and she made a real great co-commentator with with Warner and Elliott. And other things which were really cool to see, which felt like the old days. When Jackson, Troy, and Bernard, those are the top three guys that were sitting on the hot seat when Asa was coming down. They were not buried in some hot seat where no one could see them, where only the live TV could see them, so people watching from afar. But they were standing in the finish bowl, and we were in the finish bowl with them, but set back. You literally could frame your photo of Asa coming down through the arch, and Jackson and them and Ronan and not Ronan, Jackson, Bernard, and Troy. It just was cool stories and storytelling photos, and then the cameras you could that to me is racing and stories, and you can literally, there's different angles. I'm shooting from back angle, and the Red Bull photographer Brent has got his amazing photos where you literally see Troy and Jackson's face and Asa coming past them in the finish bowl, and it's just that's just, to me, that's just racing.
The emotion is you're pulling the emotion out in the picture, aren't you?
And that's in the live feed and video too, an instant reaction and celebration, and not just pulled off to an interview to some, and you never see the rider again, or if the winner's on the hot seat, you never see him again. The crowd never sees him again. He doesn't come in the finish bowl. You can't even hold his bike. Finish night photo. But pretty cool to see. And Gracie, man, we haven't talked about her yet, and even the other girls. Actually, we haven't even talked about Asa, dude. That kid. Can you believe it?
That was my next segue was Asa. He's coming off an injury.
He's still a junior. More recent injury, and this is his first showing. It's what?
Yeah, he hasn't ridden the course yet.
He should have been under team orders to chill the fuck out. You know what I mean? But that kid is great.
He's too young. He's too young to take team orders.
Yeah. He's no longer first year junior.
No, he does.
No, but that's my
junior.
My rule is the first year juniors need to crash their brains out and get wins and figure it out. Second year juniors need to even Kate Edwards. He you remember his first year was the wildest stuff. He was just 360 and doing crazy stuff, and then second year junior, knuckle down, junior world champion, boom. As already a junior world champion, but his shoulders have broadened out. I swear to God, he's
tall, huh?
He's in 4 or 5 months that I haven't seen him. So he's he gets
it's called
that
puberty,
mass.
Sven. It's called puberty.
Yeah. I went through that a while ago.
late
But
late puberty.
but he's already been so good and fast, just developing into the man that he's developing into. He's going to be way more dangerous, stronger,
Oh my
heavier, faster.
goodness.
Like Teo, heavy guy, maybe the heaviest racer. He was one of the guys that carried most speed. He nearly had all the speed. He had the speed gun, not in the race run, but in the speed gun. He was the fastest guy because he's just heavy as all hell.
Did you speak to Asa after race? Because it almost seemed like he overrode the top because he like overjumped some of the drops into like these gnarly landings, and then it felt like he like settled, and then you saw how fast he was, and he had some wins in splits, and like that's where he gained back time, but he lost like 1.5 to Jackson in the first split, and then it was like you're never really going to get that back, but he got close. So it seemed like he like came out a little bit like hot and tense, and then settled in. He like just overrode the top.
So like he rode his seeding, and he had a good run. He said steady run. I think because I spoke to him after seeding, I did not speak to him to get detailed information after a race run. But that spot where he put a lot of time into everyone, that was kind of the spot where Jackson did not gap the what do they call badger.
I thought he did, but he just didn't do it as good.
No, Jackson didn't do it in seeding because he's still under team orders to tell just to get down safely. So, and like, how do you also ride? You know, when you try ride safe, that's when you get hurt, right? Like, it was for me anyway. So you might as well just ride past. But then race day morning, Jackson was also probably, you know what? If Roden beat him or Troy in seeding, I think he would have just said, okay, whatever. I'm happy with podium. Like, but the fact that the new young Red Bull rider, junior American, like you look at it, because he went and did the gap that he said to me in the beginning of the week he's not doing is too much risk. He went and did it first run practice.
Did he?
Yeah, race day morning. Race day morning.
Thank you. I agree with you, and I am not going to listen to you like a classic freaking 20. Well, he's 21 now. Is his birthday like today or yesterday?
Today.
So Miles Kelsey's probably listening. We should have texted you for some betting. So he took Asa after quali or before quali, and I took Dunn. And then we said, okay, but that's just for the win, right? And I was like, dude, I agree with your play, but Dunn's going to be hungry, qualified second. Then I said, okay, but we need another bet. And then he's like, okay, I'll take Bernard. And I was like, okay, well, if you're taking Bernard, then I'll have Jackson. And then I phoned him after quali, and I said, let's double the bet. We're doubling the Dunn Asa bet. I was like, Asa to back up first in quali is going to be really tough as a youngster, and we're just chirping each other. But I said to him, quali means shit, because Jackson was like in third. I was like, there's no ways he went hard in quali. It's like surely Petey said chill. Surely he's like a little bit old enough to like chill in quali, That's Jackson.
No, dude.
He couldn't have gone that hard in quali.
No, dude, he did.
Who, Jackson did?
Yeah, dude, just like Asa and Dutton are like crazy fast. So it doesn't, just because Jackson's third, it doesn't, like, he hasn't raced for a year either, So I actually we really guys took the bets as well, and everyone else grabbed Asa and Dunn, and because I was like last to bet, in my head I was saying Asa and Dunn as well. But I was like, oh, since you guys have all bet those guys, I'm just going to it's too easy to say that. I'm just going to take Jackson. And the reason I said that is because exactly what I said before was like, because it was Asa the qualified face and not Dunn or Bernard, and it's an American and another Red Bull rider, he's like, you know what? You're not going to steal my limelight. I'm North American marketing is king. Like if you're the Red Bull guy from Ireland, it's not quite the same as being the Red Bull guy from...
You're making so many stories up now, but it's great. Go with it. Like Jackson's literally like, I didn't think past just getting down safely and doing the gap. And then you're like putting all these like reasons in his head. Yeah, right.
Do you think these guys even listen to us? Like, I know some of the top riders, they definitely do,
Yeah, but if they do, they probably won't admit it. Danny Hart does, but he wasn't at the race. So we'll see. They should. The coaches should listen. We give good hindsight in this podcast, which can be used to go forward. You learn from the past. We give like perfect hindsight science here, Sven, as couch bench racers do. I picked the winner. I mean, I had 2 chances at it, but I picked them.
You know what's pretty cool as well? Like, and I know that on the start sheet, he actually came, I'm going to say last because he's when likely that, because technically Dan Booker came last because he got a DSQ for missing the last jump because he had a flat tire.
He
But
came
Matt
20th.
Jones,
He came 20th.
Jones.
You'd give him some respect.
Is that Matt Jones?
Yeah, he came 20th.
No, but
Pretty
dude,
good result.
I watched the hot tub vlog and I was like, that was actually pretty cool. The guys all interviewing each other. But he used to come to Hardline, get the media, and peace out. You know, he would like either leave early, not do the race, or like just
vlog
or
vibe.
just get down the course. He was riding so damn good this week, and he's got a proper downhill bike with that Numeron, and he's been literally training in Queenstown with all the lads to be fast. And dude, to do that, his run was actually sick, and to do the flip at the end of that long run on a jump that most people, half the people like were tagging or barely getting over. Yeah, it's cool to see, like, he doesn't need to do that, but it's cool to see him wanting to do that and getting the bug of like downhill, proper downhill. So yeah, and it's pretty funny. Like, I'm sitting at the cafe and there's these little kids. The kids are like, it's about 10, 11, 12 years old with a family, and I'm hearing the kids talk, you know, and we know who the top racers are, but these kids were like, oh, Matt Jones, he might, there's a good chance he's going to win. And the one kid was so excited because like Bernard Kerr looked at him and it was like, it's pretty, like, the power of YouTube is unbelievable. Like I said, we spoke earlier.
Insane, Sven. Dude, I'm trying to figure it out because it's entertainment value. It's like at your fingertips, and like obviously everyone's heard it ad nauseum, but like I'm watching more YouTube golf when like a YouTuber that's like mad famous is playing with a pro, because you're like inside the ropes. So it's locker room, right? And like mountain biking, those guys, Bernard, Matt, these vlogs that Miles will send me, and I'm like, dude, I don't have time to watch all this stuff. I like got nappies to do. And like I'm doing some training as well now for Madeira. But I'm like, yeah, I probably should watch it because that's where I'm going to get the intel. And that's where I think, as a preview, like the World Cup needs to open the fringe content, because everyone is over like mainstream media. Like we just, you want to hear conspiracy theory? Like
now you have to
Trump went anti-mainstream media, and that's where people understood like what's going on. And now, like, that's YouTube. That's the vlog. It's like, take the curtains back. Maybe I mean, look at that course. Teo maybe shouldn't swear as much in his, but I mean, I have.
Has he actually started one now?
Dude, I mean, I'm not surprised. It did quite well. I think he did.
Yeah, because he's a smart guy. He's spent like a month in Queenstown, like learning from the ropes from all the top YouTubers. And then he got Matt Jones.
Yeah, so YouTube is, I annoyingly am almost watching more YouTube golf than tournament golf, and then the same would be
coffee and Red Bull. I mean, do you ever do coffee and beer?
I have done. It's called a beer shandy. It's called a turbo shandy. Is what when you're over drinking beer, you pour a bit of Red Bull in the top.
In beer?
Or Monster. Yeah, it's called a turbo shandy.
Well, no, it'd be Red Bull. We're Hardline. We do Red Bull.
Yeah, true. But I'm just saying, there's some Monster athletes that couldn't do the same. But coffee and beer, yeah, that's quite a
but like you said about,
all at the same time.
You said about
YouTube is like YouTube hasn't even started in mountain biking yet. This is like
this is where it's going to
start.
And the course preview, you know, you could have showed Jackson and Ronan or whatever just doing a straight fast run.
Yeah, that was smart.
But like they had
Matt in there.
You know,
it's entertainment value.
It's entertainment. Like we can watch the fast. You know, it was
like my mom would probably send me that, right? My mom would probably send me that preview, and then my mate, speaking of that, non-bike guy, sends me the Ronan crash. I'm like, of course you did, dude. That's some viral. It's like that's what I used to do, but try not fall on my head.
So that kid, how we knew like Ronan was okay, like there's a kid that filmed it, and then straight away like Ronan, like they're like the kids, like Ronan's could have a broken back, but he's like getting the kid to airdrop him the crash. And then
He is not.
And then
Of
the
course he is.
Red Bull comms people are like, you might get the crash, and like none of their cameras got it. But then there's like, oh, there's a kid at the crash, and then the kid gives it to one of the Red Bull.
Did you tell the kid to sell it? You should have
No,
been
no,
the
no,
kid's
no, no.
agent.
So no, the kid was like, hell no. The kid just like he was going to watch a race. He just shot off. He like did airdrop it to a couple of people. So and he just literally he might have missed the race. So the kid got it up on YouTube and on his Instagram, so that like the first post is where the traction goes. So I think almost Ronan collabed or shared it or something like that, like the first time it got used, so that we'd like the power of YouTube. So this kid might have like missed the race so we can get the YouTube of the crash up, like bizarre. But what else? What else? We saw some Tasmanian devils this morning.
Did you really?
Ziggy fed it.
No, hang on. Did you see a Tasmanian devil?
But in a wild animal park, like a rehab park.
Have you got a video of it? I feel like that'd be my new favorite animal if I saw it.
They're not very pretty, and they get pretty.
How wild are they? Like, how aggressive are they? Like, is it like the cartoon?
Yeah, it'll just.
Is it like a cartoon, just and like dust everywhere?
Yeah, when feeding time comes, they. Did you see? I took some notes.
I think you basically hit it all. I don't know why you gave me this boring bike setup, 2 PSI clicks, compression, 1 click. Are you saying they're treating it like a World Cup and looking at
No, I'm saying
setup?
like the difference in a World Cup setup is literally 1 click slower on rebound, 2 clicks harder on low and high speed compression, 2 PSI harder on tires. So that's how you set up your bike. Other interesting fact, which these guys did different to the World Cup guys, their racing drones are 4K, so it was pretty crazy because I almost got pegged by a drone. So in between runs, you can hear the highway, like the drone goes off and then it comes back. So after he's followed the rider, he comes back. But now after the rider's gone, I'm running down that section. So I've got to like wait for the rider to go so I can move to another section. This is in seeding when they were filming seeding as well. And then I'm literally like, and you just hear this drone coming. So they were just literally filming only 200-meter sections of the track because we couldn't follow them for further because they were streaming 4K racing drone, which was pretty impressive. Not the 1080p like pixelated one. So they lay the entire course fiber optic top to bottom. So it's not just like radio relays and stuff. Yeah, there's just
they do that at the World Cup
it
as well, Sven. In case you're trying to compare, I'm like, dude, they've been doing that at World Cups for a long time. Let's not find negatives.
No, I'm not. But they don't do 4K racing drones because I was like hanging out with the racing drone kids, and it's just like these kids are like they do all the shit hot big New Zealand car commercials and stuff, and they literally 2 little YouTubers. They're like, I don't even think they're 18, dude, and they just like got all these like older dudes just working for them. It's just like power to these kids, like don't pick up a camera if you're young, just pick up a racing drone or a video camera. You don't need to be a photographer.
Says the still photographer that's still in it somehow, but you're a journalist as well. You've got layered. No, just like it's the world of video right now. You're a podcast host.
No, but the video, people see it and then it's done and it's dead. Like photos last forever, so.
No, I agree. I'm old school as well. As people can hear, like we've got a lot of old school undertone. Like, oh, it's like the good old days. Warner was commentating. It's the good old days. Sam Hill was in the race. Like, speaking of YouTube, if you're not subscribed, come on, guys. I saw interesting stats. 74% of regular viewers are not subscribed on this channel. That's quite interesting. So they're watching regularly, but they're not subscribed.
You need to get more stuff going on the. You need to get more audio visual going on YouTube, maybe.
No, I just think like if you are watching it and you're enjoying the content, give it. You've got to hit that subscribe button. That's a big stat. That's regularly like stoked on listening, which we appreciate. Anyway, I just thought that was an interesting stat.
And now I'm looking forward to go to Queenstown. Literally, they built. Can you imagine building Rampage? But in the coolest photo you've ever seen from Queenstown with just the bridges and tussocks and sunrise and like Lord of the Rings, and that's what we're doing next week. Just like the coolest photos I could possibly ever take at an event, which is like so cool.
I had Todd Barber on the podcast and I didn't do enough previews, but we spoke a lot of Rampage because it's Todd Barber of Rampage, but he spoke a lot about natural selection. So just scroll back in the YouTube or the podcast. Is that Ziggy? Hello, Ziggy. Hello,
He's your
Ziggy.
Tasmanian devil.
No way.
You saw it. There's the wombat.
This is how passionate Sven is. He's given up time with
wombat.
Ziggy. Is it a wombat?
She was sleeping. Ziggy had jet lag the whole week. She would 3 a.m. just sit upright in bed. So like I finally get sleep at 1 a.m. from editing or whatever, and I got to get up at 7.
And then Ziggy wants to play.
But Ziggy wakes up at 3 a.m. and I was sharing a house with like PD and the syndicate mechanics, and Laurie's sleeping in the laundry room because someone stole his tent because Jackson's girlfriend was sleeping in Laurie's bed in the tent. And
I've probably woken Riley up like 3 times with my excitement here. I've got like a blanket over the door to try soften the sound, but I've probably woken him up. Ziggy, we see you soon, eh? We'll see you soon.
This Andrew signals the end, and
yes.
this is for your YouTube audience. Signing
That's a
out,
Tasmanian devil.
Red Bull Hardline.
Yeah, so signing out, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. Ziggy, this was your Crankbrothers race review with Sven Martin, Ziggy Martin, Anke in the background. So thanks to everyone. Till the next one, you know what to do. Peace.